Morning.
Good morning, guys. So I'm pretty sure everybody knows me, but for those who don't, my name is Matt Caperton. I'm the assistant team leader here at KW Sac Metro and over at KW Capital Valley. I've been in real estate for about roughly 7 years. I was an agent myself until I got into leadership. And we're going to have some fun today talking about prospects. All right. So as we talk about in the previous sessions of Ignite, we talk about grow business and run business. Today, we're going to be focusing on how to lead generate for buyers and for sellers. So the question I'm going to ask everybody, and you guys in Zoom join in too, what's prospecting? Yes, but something very specific is what I'm looking for. Anybody have an idea of what prospecting is?
Searching for your buyers and sellers.
You guys are getting warmer. All right, so specifically what lead generation is, it's, let me make sure that I'm reading this exactly as it says on here. So the way that it explains it in the materials is prospecting is lead generation effort that is proactive and direct. So that's when we talk about making our phone calls and actually proactively reaching out to potential customers. That's the difference between prospecting as opposed to marketing. Marketing is passive and is done in the background, whereas this is proactive and you're actually hunting for the business. So right now we're going to start off with connect prospecting the lead generation. So has everybody had the chance to see this funnel yet? All right, so right now we're at the top of the funnel. So we're talking about prospecting and marketing. So the way that the lead funnel works at the top, as you notice, is it's always big and open because the more leads that you have, the more opportunities that you have in business. So as we always talk about, is we want to be prospecting based, marketing enhanced. Now with here, the reason why you want to do both is you want to be able to establish a good basis for where to find the business, but the whole point of having things like smart plans, email campaigns, text campaigns is that you still have something in the background, but that is to be used as a supplement as you get started. So here's one method right here. So there's message and then there's method. So what it talks about here is that lead generation should always be purposeful and intentional. Lead generation is the life of an agent's business. So lead generation is taking a message and using the method to drive the message to a desired audience. We call this message a method of your lead generation, or the 2 M's as it's called. The message needs to match your market and it needs to make an offer for immediate response. So you need to match the market and tailor to the intended message to the sentiments and the market conditions of the target group in the area which you want to offer. Now the message should have a call to action, or a CT is what it sometimes is called, or something like, you'll see it sometimes, if you've ever seen on we'll say like a Facebook ad where it says click here now, that's a call to action. Or if you see somebody post like on their Facebook, I have a new listing, call me now for more details. That's what a call to action is. So as I was saying, prospecting based, marketing enhanced. So who can tell me another reason why it's important to start your career as prospecting based marketing? That's true. That's one thing. So I'll give you a hint. There's 3 things here that it talks about. Correct. It costs you less money. If anything, it's the difference between sweat equity and what they call check equity. You want to put the sweat equity up front because you want to build your systems out Plus, you want to be proactive in finding it because it's going to give you immediate results. Then, as you notice also too, with the triangle, prospecting is always going to be the larger base because that's the foundation of business. So as you're building this, if you're going after the business, you have the opportunity for finding the immediate business. It may take a few phone calls, and in some cases, depending on the type of source that you're calling, may take 8 to 12 calls. And if you're doing it right, that should not be more than over the course of, say, 3 months on the long end. But the more that you prospect and the more people that you talk to, the quicker you're going to get somebody on the phone that's ready to go. So as it says, you have immediate results, it's proactive, time intensive, marketing, it's money intensive, it's passive, and it gives you those long-term results. So the great thing about being part of KW is being able to use KW Command for a lot of these things right here. Now, the good thing is, whereas if you were trying to do this by yourself, it costs a lot more to do it through Facebook. It costs a lot more to do through Instagram. It costs a lot more to do if you choose to use Google. When you use the command, you use campaigns and you do your smart plans and things like that, the cost goes substantially down because of the relationships that we have with them. I will tell you to still utilize them, and they're a great source, but always remember, make your phone calls. Talk to people who know you, trust you, and are close proximity. So here's a couple of ideas of what prospecting looks like. So first off, we're going to start off with phone or face-to-face. So here's a couple of ideas that are really great to start off right offhand. Listings without an agency, that's for sale by owners and expired listings. Good morning. So actually, before I go through with any of these things, what's the one thing that you need to be mindful when you're talking to people who aren't expecting your call? Politeness. Yes and yes. Who here has heard of the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, or also known as Do Not Call? Perfect. And can you tell me why you don't want to call somebody on the Do Not Call list?
Because they have expressed that they don't want to be called by people they don't know.
Correct.
By being on that list.
Correct. Also, guys, if they get a wild hair, it's going to cost you a lot of this. There are 2 market centers, we won't say who and where, that I know of recently, because an agent decided to disregard the TCPA. One got sued for, had to settle for $40,000, and another had to settle for $60,000. So there is, now I will tell you, if you're going to call things like for sale by owners and expireds, utilizing certain systems where you can collect that data will scrub it for you. So it's very important. If it says B and C, or if it has a highlighted red, however the system works, don't call them. However, if it isn't do not call, and you see multiple phone numbers, which in a lot of cases you will, call it. This is where scripted role play comes, because you need to be prepared to answer all those objection handlers. Now, the other thing is circle prospecting. This is phenomenal. This is how I did most of my business. I did it through my specific neighborhood. Now, you're going to have a situation where sometimes they're going to deal with solicitate, like no soliciting and things like that. So if you're in a homeowners association, or if you see something like that, just be mindful. And in a lot of cases, most of them don't have that. Just go ahead, even if you're just door knocking to just do a little bit of brand awareness, or if you're doing an open house for another agent, or if you actually have one of your listings, go knock around. Some of these people are going to be happy to see you because you don't know what they've been trying to deal with in this market, or you don't know who they know that's supposed to be in this market struggle. Go for it.
With going out into the neighborhoods, if we have like door hangers and we're not actually knocking on the door, it says no soliciting. Should we still leave the, because I'm not soliciting them, but I'm leaving the door hanger. So I feel like that's.
All right, so This is personal opinion and some will disagree with me on this. If it says no soliciting, keep walking. You want to be mindful of that. Now, here's the reality. If you're hitting every door around the listing that you're supposed to, neighbors talk. I can tell you right now, in my neighborhood, I live down in Elk Grove, there have been, in the last 6 months, there's been 6 listings. And all 6 of those listings sold in less than a week. No, one person door knocked the neighborhood. Nobody did. They didn't secure any extra buyer leads or anything. Now, on the flip side of that, none of them are KW agents, so I can't say they know better. You can also go after apartment complexes. That's something you need to get permission from, obviously from community managers. You can do recently sold listings, which is same thing with door knocking for open houses, and even recently listed to where same concept. You can go around and say, hey, we have a new property that just came up. We know that a few have sold here recently. If you know anybody who's looking to move into the neighborhood, let us know. And they'll actually share that information. If you're polite and professional about it, they'll listen. But the key is if you just do it one time and never show up again, it doesn't. You have to consistently do it, time on task over time. Community outreach, this is a great one too. Charity and volunteer work. It's kind of a two-pronged thing. You're helping others, whatever their cause is, and as long as you're doing it for the right reasons, you may have the opportunity to gain business from it. If you're going into it just saying, I'm going to get a ton of business and this is why I'm doing charity work, don't do it. Do it because you want to and understand doing the right thing and being a great example gives you the opportunity to do it. Key relationships. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have a lot of these key relationships. Think of them from, in this case, corporations, builders, banks, third-party data companies, investors. Third-party data companies is one that's really good if you want to do for sale by owners and expired listings, because they're the ones who scrub the DNC data. Teaching and speaking opportunities. This is one that helped me a lot because it gets you in front of people and they can see how your public speaking is. Meals, take people out for lunch, door-to-door canvassing, network events, booth and kiosks and walk-ins. All of these things within reason are little to no cost, depending on what it is. And the opportunity amongst all of this is you can find immediate business. Now, are you always going to? No. And at the same time, if it's not immediate business, what should you do if somebody gives you their contact information? Follow up. All right, we're going to dive deep into prospecting methods. All right, being prospecting based marketing enhanced. Here are some opportunities for it as well. Also, guys, in your packet, I don't know if you guys saw this, it has that entire list that I just went over. And it actually expands on both and the marketing side. Guys, do you have the handout? I don't know if Melinda put it inside the chat or not. You did? Okay, perfect. All right, so we just kind of went over a few of these. Door knocking is a great one. Agent to agent referrals, guys. Sacramento is really big. You can go from Elk Grove all the way up to Meta Vista, which is where one of our leadership members goes. How far of a distance do you think that is? Bingo. And it's the same thing. We have agents that are far, even further west than Davis, and some that even go further east, almost going into Tahoe. There's a lot of business to go around, and not every agent wants to service every part of Sacramento. There's a lot of agents in here who do not want to go outside of their hyper-local area. That's why it's important to build relationships with other agents. Maybe not just in this office too. You may make friends with our friends over in Fair Oaks. You may make friends with our guys in Roseville. You may make friends with guys over in Folsom. You may even make friends with the guys in Elk Grove. And guess what? You might not want to go all the way down to Elk Grove or even further into like Lodi and Stockton, where we also have a couple of offices. That's a good way for you to refer business and build that strong relationship. Open houses, get as many as you can. I know that they're a little bit scarce right now, and if an opportunity presents itself, go for it. If you do it right, and there's a whole class just on this, you can get a lot of business from it. There are many agents in this market center. That's how they started. That is how they found their business. One of them's walking by right now, Taylor. Him and Michael Sories, that's all they do is they door knock. They are hyper local for Natomas. They do geographic farming and they do open houses. It works. They did over 100 transactions last year and they do it consistently. They don't reinvent the wheel, they just keep it simple.
What exactly is geographic farm?
So sticking with like a specific neighborhood. So let's say, for example, you want to focus on just one neighborhood in Natomas. You okay? If we don't, I can get one printed real quick. Actually, tell you what. You're welcome. So geographic farming, let's say, for example, there's a neighborhood in Natomas that you want to focus on and just that. That means you're going to focus the majority of your attention on making sure you door knock every house. You're going to make sure you send out flyers or mailers. You're going to do everything that you can to get an open house in that neighborhood and be the neighborhood expert. It is a phenomenal way to get presence. Now, if somebody in that neighborhood says, hey, I might have something in another neighborhood, are you going to still take it? Yes. It's important because it gives you the opportunity to build relationships, and they may know somebody all around town that needs business. And then social media, guys, same thing. There are a ton of classes on this. This is still considered prospecting if you do it right. It's prospecting and marketing depending on how you do it. If you're consistent about posting on social media, people will reach out to you. It's both passive and active. Door knocking. So as it shows right here, it's a four-pronged process. You approach, you act, ask, and advance. Now, the trick is if you're going to physically knock on the door, the trick is you knock on the door and then what next?
Step back.
Step back.
Step back. You want to make sure that you're very disarming, because if they see you kind of like right at the door, it might not answer. So, but if you take a step back, make sure you have a smile on your face, look very polite, they may actually answer the door. That does not mean every time they're going to answer it, but also a piece of advice, I generally I give it like about 10 to 20 seconds, depending on the neighborhood. If you knock, count to 10, okay, move along. Especially if there's 500 or more doors in the neighborhood, make it quick. This is also how you build a farm. This is how you become the realtor of choice or the local neighborhood expert, is by doing this consistently. This is not something you just do once and hope something comes out of it. And I keep going back to Mike and Taylor. They door knock 22,000 doors every month. I'm not telling you to door knock that many, and I'm not even telling you that's always going to be effective. And that's a lot of chances that they have about finding it. So this is one way. This is not everybody's cup of tea. And in some cases, not everybody can physically walk that many steps up again. But can you make relationships, especially with people in that neighborhood? You can. All right, in this case, agent to agent referrals, as it says, you want to grow, maintain, manage, and it's rinse and repeat in this situation. So this is something that I'm going to tell you guys to keep very mindful of. There are over 6,000 agents just in Northern California and Hawaii region. There are over 35 market centers in our area. There's a lot of opportunity just in our region to make relationships, build this out. From my second year on, I got no less than 3 referrals every single year when I was still practicing. It doesn't take a lot. Show up to events, get to know people, make an effort to use the referral network within inside of Command, just get to know everybody. The biggest referral partners that I ever got though, are from when I went to family reunion. You'll find out more about that. That's our big conference that comes every year. I believe next year's is going to be in Anaheim, so it's going to be a lot closer than Orlando like this year. Yes. By the way, guys, there's 180,000 agents. Actually, I think it's like 185,000 now in North America. Here's a little trick that you might want to do. Even if you never have to use them, find one referral partner in every state. Even though like Texas, California, and Idaho, Arizona, and I think Nevada are the biggest places where everybody is going, and those are the ones you want to start off with. You have no clue how many needs a job transfer. You don't know who's in the military. You don't know when somebody has a life event. 50 states, well, in this, 50 states, 50 referral partners. And there are people that will gladly take that call. Now, prospecting through Command and Referrals. Has anybody had the opportunity to play with this tool yet? So to give you just kind of I'll give you kind of the CNN version of this. When you go in, it'll give you the opportunity to where it'll pull up a map of the United States or pretty much all of North America, if I remember correctly. You can type in literally any city and it'll pull up everything. It'll show you migration patterns, where referrals are coming and where they're going. And if you want to look for something very specific, like here in Sacramento, we have Roseville, we have Rockland, we have Folsom, we have Fair Oaks, we have Elk Grove, we have close to Davis, we have here in Natomas. If you're going to send a referral, find out kind of an idea of where they're at, where the specific person's wanting to go. Or if you're going to build out your profile, tell individuals the areas that you service. So if somebody says, hey, I have somebody that's going to be moving to Sacramento, what areas do you service? You should know. But play with this and do yourself a favor. This does take time. One referral partner, every state.
Can you send like an email to other agents to end up like connecting? Because I ended up getting an email from an agent in Vegas for me to be like her referral source out in Vegas.
And you just got started. The great thing about when you go into the referral network is if they build out their profile on KW Connect, you will get their phone number, their email address, what market center. So if you send them a referral request, they'll be added to the network. Plus, you can usually, if I remember correctly, you can click the hyperlink that'll have for their email address. Just send them an intro. I will tell you, call then email. You want to make sure that you have that warm connection.
Because I was a little surprised to see I had an email from somebody in Vegas. I was like, wait. It's like I'm not even out in Vegas at all. But once I got her, oh, okay. So if they have anybody moving to Vegas, you want me to send to you.
And let me tell you, there are people that move Vegas, Reno, and then the other side of Tahoe, so the Nevada side of Tahoe. So there's opportunities.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised sometimes. I've got referrals from people I've never met, period. But because they knew somebody that I knew, or maybe my name got dropped in some situation, I got referrals at least consistently one time every year from somebody I'd never met. And it's all because, shocker guys, I had a profile that was built out. There are thousands of agents on KW Connect right now and in the referral network. They have nothing there. Because a lot of them didn't get, when we switched over to Command, not everybody redid their profiles. And the ones who didn't, people will look, especially if they don't have anybody specific that they're looking for, they'll scroll through and it's like, oh, no contact information, next. So my piece of advice to you, and I'm pretty sure everybody in here has gotten them built out, but make sure your contact information is correct. Put a 2-line bio, just something to tell them about yourself. Do it. Before I was ever an ALC member, I had to make sure that people knew who I was because Jacksonville was a transient town where I came from. We had 2 Navy bases, so people were going in and out all the time. I got a military relocation professional certification. I put that sucker in my profile and I got referrals every year. Just by telling somebody that I also service the military, which by the way, that's a big branch of what we're doing with Keller Williams right now. So if you have connections with the military or you have anybody that's in your family or friends that are military, make the connections. All right, open houses, guys. I'm gonna be real quick on this one. This is an entire class that you can do for this. When you're preparing for an open house, you wanna do a couple of things. The first thing you should do is you should know at least, and I know that this isn't a guarantee, especially in this market right now, you should start marketing and start making phone calls to your sphere at the very minimum 5 days in advance. So if you're doing a Saturday open house, you want to start doing this on a Monday. Now, if you have started putting your contacts in your database and you're following up with people in your database, these should be easy calls. Hey guys, I have an open house at 123 Main Street here in Natomas. Do you know anybody who would have any interest in going to this, or this may be a great house for them? Sometimes you may get shocked and say, well, actually, that'd be nice for me. Just call your sphere, guys. And in some cases, if you don't want to call them because you feel like you're calling them too much, especially to start off with, send them an email. You can create the emails inside of Command, send it out, just say, hey, open house from this Saturday from 11 or 11 to 2, however many hours you. And then there's a process every single day where you're doing something different. Now, if you notice, it says prepare, then prospect. This is where door knocking and door hanging come into play. So if you actually do this part, if you do definitely the preparation into the prospecting, you're going to have a lot more chance to catch more flies. If you miss this part, sometimes it's a little hard to get a lot of business at an open house. I'm not saying it's impossible. There were some times I didn't know for probably maybe a day or two before that I had one, like when I was doing it for some agents. But I still made sure at least the day before, 10 over 10, it's 10 across, and then 20 each side, or 10 each side. So at least do enough houses around the house. And then there's pursue. If you get contacts that come in from that open house, make sure you get their contact information right from the get-go, follow up with them. And if you do this every single week, and there's a lot more steps to this that I'm not talking about. When there's an open house workshop, I guess is what Amy calls it, take advantage of this because there's a lot more you can do with this. You can utilize social media, you can utilize your sphere. There's a lot of things you can do. And in some cases, if you want to have some drinks or snacks like that, team up with a lender. You got Cap City right there. They will gladly help you because guess what? If a buyer comes through that's unqualified and does not have a lender or doesn't have an agent, what do you think the first thing you should do if they want to start looking at homes is? Bingo. And guess who can do it right then and there? Now, I'm not telling you have to use Cap City. You may have somebody that you want to use. I know that Christy and Crystal will do it. They've done it for other agents. Vince even uses them from time to time too. So there's a lot more, as I said, a lot more steps to this. If you get an opportunity to do an open house, do. There we go. And as it says here, as you go prospecting, add the contacts, follow up, stay top of mind. You want to add the contacts to the database. You want to tag them, and then you want to put them into at least the cultivate phase. The big thing about this is, as you guys have seen in terms of how just the data bank portion of contacts works, it is very powerful, especially if you get as much information here and you tag these properly here, because you can set up specific smart plans based on the type of contact it is. So if you put a tag that this is an open house lead, guess what? There are smart plans for following up on open house. If it's a sphere of influence because it's one of your close friends, then you can put SOI or VIP or something like that. That's a different smart plan. But you're still calling them. That's the key. All right, so we're going to go a little bit more on to the marketing hand side. In this case, it's talking about host a speaker, offering a gift, get the house in showing shape, and go live. So these are the extra steps for preparation. Host a speaker, get somebody that can come in, maybe do something like talk to one of the lenders, have them come in, talk about the market. Within reason, you can offer a gift, say if somebody wants to register. Maybe it's a gift basket, maybe it's like a $25 gift card to Starbucks. There's certain limits that you have to stay within. But if you do it like a contest, say for those who register and show up to the open house, you can draw and win. Get the house in showing shape. Now this is going to take some help. You've got to make sure that the seller is on board to do this to help you out. I have done some open houses, and I'm not very proud of, where the house did not show well at all, and it was my fault for not saying no. And I've also had some open houses where I was very strong with the communication with the sellers or the other agent that I'm doing for to make sure that everything is clean, ready to go, and it was perfect. They had candles going, they had music going, and we had probably close to 20 families that came through. You do it right, it will sell quick. Unfortunately, also in this market, sometimes it's going to sell quick regardless. But even though this market is the way it is now, always practice that. Because eventually when the market does at some point correct itself, or at least levels off, so listings aren't going to sell as much. And then of course, you want to make sure it goes live. Social media. Get over to this here real quick. Social media, whether you like it or not, it is an important tool for a real estate agent. If you do it right, you can get a lot of business from this, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. Just like anything else in real estate, time on task over time, consistency, that is the key. If you do this over a long period enough time, people will start reaching out to you because they want to do business with you. Social media, the philosophy is perception is reality. Whether that's right or wrong, if they think that you're selling tons of homes, especially if you're doing it right, where you're doing a live from an open house, or maybe you're posting as you're door knocking, or you're doing something like that, and they're like, oh my God, this person's so busy, I need to use them. Like I said, perception's reality. It may not be necessarily true, but the reality is you're doing the activities so people think that you're doing what you're supposed to, which you are. So even if you're not a big fan of it, post a picture maybe once a day, something like certain activities you're doing. If you are willing to do it, post a video. And here's the key, it does not have to do it. Only about 30 seconds. Most people, if you've ever been on TikTok, most people don't have an attention span more than about a minute, right? Just 30 seconds, so is all you need. The big channels that you can utilize through here with Command, it's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I never really got into Twitter. That's not my cup of tea, but there are some people that actually get business. So it definitely works. The other thing, guys, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You may start thinking to yourself, and it may seem overwhelming. It's like, what do I post? What content do I need to put out there? There are a lot of people who have created a lot of content, and we do, in some cases, what's called R&D, rip off and duplicate. And they will gladly let you see what they're doing, and then you copy it. I can tell you there's a lot of agents here that have certain things that they do. They're willing to share with you guys. That's the big thing about our family. Yes.
I do Keep It Current Matters.
That's a good one.
You can schedule your post or you can instantly.
Keep It Current Matters.
Uh-huh.
Is that like a special app that you have, or is it?
It's
a
a
website?
site. It's a
It's
website.
a website.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I use Keeping Current Matters for a real long time. One thing you have to be mindful of is if you do the scheduled posts with them, the algorithm isn't gonna recognize it as a high priority. So if you do the instant post, like if you take a link from one of the things and you post it yourself, then it's gonna be acting like you just posted something on Facebook. So the algorithm itself with Facebook has changed substantially over probably the last 2 years for many reasons. So if you really want the presence, using one of those auto post things, if you do it through Command and you post it to the business page, that's one way. But if it's your personal page, do it yourself. So and if you do this right, guys, every day, take 10, 20 minutes or so as you get faster with it, make a post. Now, let me kind of break this down real quick where it says select, seek, and share. You want to select what your medium is going to be. You want to seek a very specific type of demographic you want to go after. Share what you're doing, and then service the agent or service what comes in. There's a lot of different things you can. In this case, when it talks about service, when people reply on your post, reply back to them. You're going to see reactions. The other thing you want to do is if you take in that same 10 to 20 minutes, you like, comment, and share something from other people, then they're going to in return start seeing you inside of their threads. So that's really important. Because if you're just expecting people to come to you, the way that the algorithm will work is if I'm engaging with other people, then I start going further up in their thread. So here's a philosophy that I was taught a long time ago. There's a lot that this talks about. I'm going to keep this real short. 20% business, 80% personal. Does anybody have an idea why you want to do that?
Show your actual numbers.
Exactly. I was taught a philosophy of 3-1-1. Now, some, and I will tell you, there are agents that do this differently than how I did it, but this is how I was taught. 3 personal posts about you, your family, or something like that. 1 random post can be like a funny meme, can be something that you're randomly sharing. 1 post business. That's it. Because here's the reality. If you show that you're a human being and you're not just a bot posting things, people are going to see the personal side of you. They're going to hear your backstory. They're going to see all the effort that you're putting in. And then when that 1 business post does come up, they're going to like, they're going to share, they're going to comment, and you're going to get a lot of potential that's out of it. If you switch these, you're going to notice that there's not going to be a lot of attention. I made the mistake before I knew this, where I was posting a ton about business. Nobody cared.
I've been told I was a scammer.
Yeah. So if you do this right now, here's the other thing. I'm not telling you to post 5 times a day. Don't do that. Unless you have that type of personality where you want to post multiple times a day, don't do it. I was struggling to do 1 a day. However, if you treat it like your lead generation, put it on your calendar, and you make it a non-negotiable, it becomes 20% business, 80% personal. All right, so take action and develop your plan. All right, so this is actually from the Business Planning Clinic, which is based off of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So over the course of time, you're going to have roughly about 10 sources of business throughout a year. The reality is your 5 main sources are anywhere between 80 and 90% what your business is. What does everybody think number 1 is? Open houses. Could be. Bingo. I'm not going to say everybody, but most of the time, number 1 is sphere of influence. People who know you, trust you, close proximity. Always remember those 3 things. But the reality is, if you're doing the things right with your sphere and stuff, that could be open houses. That could be social media. That could be for sale by owners or expired. That could be agent referrals. These right here could be different things. You like may go to an event, somebody says, oh, I'm actually looking for it. If you wear your name tag or something that's branded that says Keller Williams, and you happen to go to the grocery store, you don't know who's looking to buy or sell a house. People are just kind of waiting in those long lines, and they may look like, wait a minute, you're a real estate agent? Or if you're a little bit braver, you may overhear a conversation where somebody's like, yeah, we're thinking about selling our house. Your ears will perk up. You will start to be conditioned to start hearing those things. Be mindful, not everybody is always the nicest when you interrupt them. However, if you be polite and professional about it, they'll be okay to talk to you. All right, so we're going to talk. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about this list real quick. So, as it says here, you're going to take action and develop a plan. So here's the reality, guys. You're going to also, I'm going to kind of deviate from this just a little bit. So here's a list of a lot of different things that you can utilize. Now, the way that this list is, if you notice, these are your 10 different sources, and everything is kind of jumbled up. When you figure out what those sources are, you're going to prioritize them. And then once you figure out what your top 5 are, that's where your focus is going to be. So if you realize that agent referrals, FSBOs, website registrations, client parties, those type of things really aren't giving you a whole lot, then focus on these. So if social media gave you 14 transactions last year, then you want to keep it up. If door knocking gave you a lot of business, keep door knocking. Calls to the sphere. It's just literally calling people you know. Gave you 7, keep doing it. 19 to connect, part of drip campaigns, and then open houses. It's that simple, guys. Now, as you're just getting started, you're not going to have all of these yet. And you may not know what works for you, and that's okay. As you start to go through this, throw it at the wall. If it sticks and you enjoy doing it, keep it. Now, you're going to find out as you go through your career, sometimes there may be some things that you're doing you may not necessarily like, and they're working. Not everybody likes door knocking. Not everybody likes open houses, but guess what? If it's effective, what do you think you should do? Bingo. All right. Time permits. We're going to try and do this here real quick. All right, so I believe it's page 14 on your participant guide. All right. So I'm going to go back to, where's this? I think you guys still have a list in there. Figuring out, this is going to take some time. There's no way we're going to get this completely knocked out in class. But I want you to think about what are your main ideas for how you want to develop a prospecting plan. Sphere of influence should absolutely be on that list. That's a non-negotiable. And I know it sounds like a broken record, and it's because it's the highest rate of return and the highest return on investment. So if you spend $100 on a sphere as opposed to $100 on an open house, the $100 on your sphere is going to net you more business in that sense. So a lot of these things are going to be done kind of independently, like your 3 prospecting methods. You want to, yeah, we're probably not going to have a whole lot of time for this, but I strongly encourage you guys, you want to focus on your 3 main pillars. You're not going to know the other 7, another 5 to 7, but focus on the things that you want to do. Now, I caution when I say that because, as I said, as you get through your business, you're going to find out that there are lead generation sources you don't like doing that work. So don't be afraid to try something. And if it works, do it. Now, I also know, because I've been in this business long enough, that we as agents are very lazy and don't like doing things we don't like. So I encourage you, even if it's something that makes you uncomfortable, which we talk always about getting out of the comfort zone, Still give it a chance. Because you might find out as you do it more consistently, you get more comfortable with it. Not everybody likes calling expired listings. Not everybody likes calling FSBOs. Sometimes you just don't like getting up. And it may be that next call that you take that there's a homeowner who is in way over their head. They try to do FSBO and they've been ran over the coals by buyers or other agents not being truthful or honest with you. You're not going to do that, right? So wouldn't it be worth making that phone call and saving them and being the hero? Make the call. I'm not, as I said, not everybody's about FSBOs or expires, not everybody's about door knocking, and you're not going to know until you try. All right, so we're going to talk about recraft and create a success list. Actually, we're doing pretty good on time. We might be able to actually do this. All right, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this. Everybody want to turn to 14 real quick? We're going to give this 5 minutes. So I want you guys to figure out what are 3 things that you want to put on your prospecting list that you're actually going to try. And then after 5 minutes, I want to hear from at least 3 of you.
There you go.
You guys, about 3 more minutes. All right, 1 more minute. All right, who wants to volunteer on the 3 that they've chosen? We're gonna start off with Zoom.
Okay, I'll start.
Go for it.
Can you hear me?
What are your 3 pillars you're gonna focus on for your plan?
So I'm gonna focus on my sphere because I've been a little gun shy with that, and I know it's important. And then I'm educating myself with social media and doing the videos because that's another thing I just not comfortable with. So I feel like I have to do it.
Anytime.
And then also, yeah, and then door knocking in my neighborhood. I have the list already. I did it one time, but I'm letting too much time go by, so I needed to kick it up a notch.
Awesome. You're gonna find out you can have a lot of success with those.
Thank you.
All right, who can I pick on? Ivy, I'm gonna pick on you.
Okay, so for me, same with SOY. And then I always had an interest in door knocking, so I'll probably taking on that in my neighborhood and maybe surrounding neighborhoods. And then also for the third one, probably building relationships, because I know some people that know builders and whatnot, so I'll probably be connecting with them.
Perfect. Piece of advice about B2B, guys. Just like with your sphere of influence, building that relationship takes time. It's not a one and done type of just drop by and say hi. If you want to get business from a builder, you gotta really get to know them and you need to find out what they're having issues. Because even though builders are literally selling things left and right, forwards and backwards, people still have homes to sell. Trust me. You're gonna close this out. What's your 3?
My 3 are social media.
Okay.
My pro for that is you can do certain posts to target audiences.
Mhm.
And the exposure is greater than just door knocking. My con to that is potential prospects automatically get a plethora of options to choose from, being that they're on social media.
Very true.
Because the minute that they say anything about, oh, I'm looking for a house or this or that, like anybody that knows them, that the agent is like, hi, I'm here to help you. I see you having problems. Like, I'm one of those persons. My second one is open houses. You get to actively engage with ready, willing, and able buyers or sellers. My con to that is that some savvy agents are out doing homes with their clients. And my third one is my sphere. My pro for that is the report is already there, so that's a higher chance of being heard. And then my con to that is no one takes you seriously until they see strangers utilizing your service.
That's right.
That is phenomenal. That is nail on the head. Here's what I'm gonna tell you. Everything has a pro and a con, but the reality is if you put enough focus into it, the con is always gonna get outweighed by the pro.
One of my 3 are events,
Ooh.
but the con is that there's not enough events. So how would you rebuttal your statement just now?
All right. So you guys are part of a phenomenal family of market centers. We have at minimum 1 big event every quarter. Almost every one of those 4 events always has something for your customers. So events, generally speaking, are not going to be every month. If you could do them every month, great, but just remember there's cost generally associated with it. That's sometimes the con is the cost sometimes outweighs the benefit. Now, with all these, I think the next one that's upcoming is Shred Day. That's a great opportunity. Everybody has documents to shred. Then you have, I believe the next one, let's see. I got to figure out what we're doing for 4th of July or something that's pretty close. We have an event usually for trunk or treat at Halloween. Last year at this office, there was over 1,000 people who showed up, literally lined up outside right there on trucks.
It wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
They're also doing that the roller skating event.
The culture committee, yeah. or
And
the events committee.
I was talking to Taylor a couple days ago. He says he's trying to do car shows, I think weekly or monthly in this parking lot as an event. Like,
So you could
awesome. Reach out to him and talk.
I love events. My previous job, I was pretty much in charge of running the events, so that's like my avenue when I enjoy it.
Find something you're passionate about and it will never feel like. Or the philosophy is love what you do and you're never working a day in your life. It's the same thing with lead generation. Find things that you know you're going to enjoy. It's not going to be everything. I have to be very straight with you on that. And you're going to find certain things that you're going to want to do every single. Talking to people you know is fun. Because remember, I don't know if you guys have gotten the Ford script yet. How's the family doing? How's everybody doing? Everybody healthy and happy? What's going on with spring break? You know, how's the job going? Guess what? We also happen to have K-score. Somebody wants to switch careers. What are you guys doing for spring break? Hey, the last time we talked, I remember, you know, I know you guys just bought your home. It's probably only been 6 months ago. Have you guys thought about doing any type of investing? Equity has gone up a lot in your home. Now you're also going to remember, and this is kind of going a little off script, Ford conversations aren't always Ford. Sometimes it's faux Ford. And if that's how the flow of the conversation goes, just go with it. But let me tell you, I love those conversations. Why? Because I felt such a strong rapport with my people. I didn't have to question with the people that I put that much focus into, where am I getting a referral from? If they know somebody, I was getting the referral. I encourage you guys, continue doing with the pros and the cons. Find the things where there's more pros to the cons than how you think, because the reality is it's something you have to do. I can't force you to do anything. You have to want to. Find those things, figure out what those are, and then stick with them. And if you realize they don't work, find something else that does.
Wind shrimp.
Ask Sam.
Okay.
I cannot remember for the life of me, but I think it's coming up. They've moved it twice, so I don't remember what the new date is.
Okay,
All right. Who can tell me something in terms of how has your thinking changed and what ideas or mindsets were new? Adam, I'm going to pick on you. Do you hear me, Adam?
I can go.
Okay, go for me, Amy.
I'll go. The getting referrals set up, I haven't really been working on that in other states, and that makes a lot of sense, especially the states that I personally know people that are moving to Texas and Idaho and all across the land. So that was my aha moment.
Trust me, if you dig, and I'm telling everybody this, you dig deeper into this, you will find referrals just fall into your lap. You didn't have to really do anything other than just fill out your profile. Riley, what do you feel differently about and what was meaningful for you today?
To me, sorry.
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm sorry, you're looking over there, so I was like, okay. I didn't think about the military aspect. I have a brother-in-law who's in Marines, and he's actually getting into recruiting. So I will reach out and see. He's not in California, but see if he has any connections. He still has friends that are in California, and so I can reach out and try to take that as well.
Awesome. Trust me, guys, it's a very fulfilling thing if you've ever helped a military family, especially considering if they have to PCS, they need somebody they can trust. And when they know that they can trust you, they will be loyal to you. I've gotten 3 referrals from one family that I helped 3 years ago. I still get them. They're like, hey, you need to talk to this person. Even though they know I live in California now, I now need them off my early. All right, next for you. How will your behaviors be different going forward? What actions?
Being a little bit more outgoing, smiling, and high-hearted. This practice. Like again, just being a little bit more outgoing, smiling, and as you said, if I do door knocks, I never thought about just standing here. Step back.
We always have a perceived notion about how things are in our lives, and sometimes that perception of how we view things isn't always. I cannot stand when somebody cold calls me. Can't stand it. It's click. The reality is, though, it works. Same thing with door knocking. You'll find out if you focus on that a lot, it'll open your mind to a lot more. All right. You're going to take me home. What tools, models, or systems will you definitely use, and how will they make you accountable?
I would say social media. I've been really up to date with that, so I'm gonna take that on, try to use it.
Anytime you see a class about social media, especially taught from these guys, if you ever see social media class taught by Rachel Adamsley, who is out of the Folsom office, stop everything. She got, I think, no less than 50 referrals a year over the last 4 or 5 years from social. She is, I don't think I've only seen a handful of posts from her business, but it's always about her, her family, her victories, her failures, things like that. She is very transparent on social media, which is weird and refreshing at the same time.
What's her name?
Rachel Adamsley. So she's part of the family, but she's over in the Folsom area. All right. Just remember, I know where you guys are probably being taught 5-5-5, but do your best to do 10 contacts added to the database, 10 conversations in a day, 10 handwritten notes. Believe me, think about when was the last time you got one. And of course, the 10 home previews, that takes a little bit of time. So, and then of course, get those scripts out of the way, guys. Script and role play works. As a leader, I have to script play because while my lead generation is a little different, I still have objection answers too. There we go. Thank you very much, guys.